Okay, meeting's now being recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, January 23rd, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:05. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 361, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden City Council and Successor Agency may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. And if any of the members should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Victor Solorzano, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Girl Scouts Troop 2543.
Thank you this evening for the opportunity to meet again as Lord over our community. And this night, we especially pray for all those families in Monterey Park that lost loved ones, Lord, in an act of violence. We pray for those that are mourning, and we continue to pray, Lord, for our city, for our schools, for all those places, Lord, where we gather innocently, Lord, to celebrate, to worship, to go with our families. We pray your continued protection over all, Lord, especially our law enforcement and our firefighters and everybody, Lord, that puts their lives on the line to protect us, Lord, protect our schools, our teachers. And once again, it is my dear prayer that you would always give your guidance to this city council. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for having me.
Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
City Manager, can you please introduce the first presentation? Oh, well. Sorry, I always skip over roll call. City Clerk?
Yes. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena,
Present.
Chavez,
Present.
Pulido,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Sanchez,
Present.
and Mayor Chair Cortez.
Present.
Thank you.
Now, City Manager, can you please do the first presentation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cortez. We have a presentation was scheduled for the last meeting that was moved to this meeting for Grid Alternatives, or nonprofit that does solar work primarily for owner occupied units. With this, I'll turn it over to first to Gus Romar, our Community Development Director, if he wants to add a few words, and then we'll let Grid do their presentation. Go ahead, Gus.
Oh, thank you, Mr. City Manager. Nothing else to add other than I'm excited to hear what Grid Alternatives has to offer our residents with regards to solar alternatives. I believe Stella should be on, so I'll pass it on to her.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor and council members. Thank you for providing me with just a few minutes of your time to provide you a presentation. And we have some slides on the screen here. I hope I'm able to use the clicker here. Let's see, one second. There we go. Oops. There we go. All right, thank you. So again, my name is Stella Ursua. I'm the Senior Programs and Partnerships Manager for a nonprofit called Grid Alternatives, Greater Los Angeles. We have been in existence since about 2007, and we do in fact conduct installations of solar panels for families that live in environmentally polluted neighborhoods, but we do a lot more. And that's why I was so happy to be able to join you tonight. Just real quick, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do. We work in clean energy and transportation. I'll share a little bit of our impacts from the projects that we work on, and then talk a little bit about workforce opportunities, right? Excuse me. So, I typically ask, how many of you have heard of grid alternatives? Do you know of any families that have received the solar panels from us? This is something that we, like I said, we have been doing in LA County, in Orange and Ventura County. And this is at no cost to the family. These are monies that come from the cap and trade program and California climate investments. And so we have installed over 2,000 systems for residential families that help them reduce their energy bills between 50 to 80%. So I'm sure you all know families that are struggling right now. I know of many, many families, and this is huge for them. This is huge in that they can cut a $300 energy bill down to under $150, which is, a lot of money back in their pocket, right? We have been doing, as I mentioned, big projects as well as the residential projects. You see some pictures up here of some of the projects that we've done with organizations like Wells Fargo, United Airlines, different organizations that are very interested in our work out there. We have block parties, we have solar-thons where we will work on 3 to 4 homes in one day. We need lots of volunteers for those projects, but those are just some of the things that we do on a regular basis. We're an international nonprofit organization that makes renewable energy technologies and job training accessible to underserved communities. So that's the big piece of this, is not only are we installing solar for families that really need the help, but we're training individuals in the solar industry, how to install panels, how to design the systems, how to conduct outreach to families so that they know about these programs. We bring community and city partners together, volunteers and job trainees to implement solar power and energy efficiency for low-income families. And our motto is people, planet, employment. We're a mission-driven organization. We, hold on one second, there we go. We envision a rapid, equitable transition to a world powered by clean energy. We're a proven and trusted solar integrator. And by that we mean, let me just stop one second. By that we mean we are working with big contractors, big developers, other cities out in, again, LA County, Orange County, Ventura County, but we also have offices throughout California. We have 6 offices here in California. We have 1 in Colorado, and we have 1 over in the DC area. We conduct all the programs that I just mentioned, but as well workforce development. We are in Managua, Nicaragua. We do work in Mexico, and we've also done installations in Nepal. Which is really exciting because these are folks that have absolutely no electricity. So we're installing these systems and bringing just really good things to these communities. So why clean energy for Bell Garden families? Well, the communities in LA County are some of the most polluted neighborhoods in this county. Sorry about that, a little too fast. Residents are in the lowest percentile of homeowners with access to solar and clean energy. We talk a lot about equity. We walk that talk. We want to make sure that the people that are most vulnerable to climate change, to the economics, that are taking place right now, to poverty, that they have access to this program. Nearly half of California's population, about 45% of the population, are located in Southern California and Edison's 50,000 square mile service territory. We work very closely with the utilities as well. There's a lot of information here. I'm not going to read through it, but I do have flyers on how to qualify for this program. I'll leave some of these flyers for you. I'll also send you the electronic copy so that you have those for your residents as well. But bottom line, we need proof of income, proof of home ownership, a recent utility bill, and then we'll look at their electric usage over the course of the past year so we can determine how big of a system they would need to drop that energy bill between 50 to 80%. So please, please, if you know of someone, please send them our way. Right? This is not a scam. This is under the cap and trade program. We get that all the time. Oh, you're another solar company. No, we're not. We're a nonprofit solar installation company. So something really important to remember. Here's some of our impacts. I think back before the end of the year, it was 1,900 systems. We're up to 2,000 systems, 2,100 households served. We also do multifamily affordable housing projects. So if you have complexes here that serve low-income families, we can help you with that as well. If you have developers that are building new buildings here, we would love to partner with them so that we can make sure that they have solar up on the roof. We also are moving into battery storage as well. I'll talk about that in just a second. So we have the amount of money that is saved over the lifetime, the amount of solar that's been installed KW-wise, the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that have been saved or prevented, and then the number of people that have been trained. Over 4,200 individuals have been trained on the job, on the roof, basically. So we are very, very thrilled that folks want to learn about solar energy. Recent additions, I think I've talked a little bit about this, multifamily. We're also responsible for a program called Access Clean California. Not sure if you heard of that, but that's another program to connect families to electric vehicles and charging stations. And there's a really neat program called Replace Your Ride. If you know of somebody that's on the last leg with their car, they want to buy a new car, please send them over to us. We'll connect them to a grant and or a rebate between about $14,000 or so that they can get if they trade that car in and if they, again, qualify for the program. So it's a really good program that we are helping to administer. We're creating resilience centers. Not sure if you've heard of that, but resilience centers are the big thing right now in LA County because of the extreme heat days that we have. We have more 100-degree plus days. Where do your seniors go? Where do the kids go that don't have electricity or air conditioning in their homes? Or maybe there's a blackout, right? So we're working very closely with the county to create more resilience centers. We created our first resilience center in Wilmington. We're working on one in Pacoima right now. We're partnering with a couple of other cities, city of Maywood. We're trying to get a resilience center created there at their YMCA. And then we're installing charging stations for both residential and multifamily. So we're really diversifying our model here, the types of projects that we're working on. I already talked about the resilience center here, battery storage. We're training people how to work on these projects and connecting them to careers in solar. I already talked about the clean vehicle rebate program. I have all of this information here on the flyers. Love to share this information for you. I've talked about workforce development. We just had a new class, 23 new students in that class. So they're going to go through this cohort for the next 12 weeks. And by the time they get done, they will be working on solar projects within our communities. I'm hoping that the city of Bell Gardens has more projects so that we can connect more of your residents to these wonderful job opportunities and helping people save energy, helping people stay in their homes, right? And connecting the city to more opportunities to partner with us. We're always looking for grant opportunities. I'm constantly bugging people from all the cities like, hey, would you want to partner on a grant around clean mobility, around resilience centers, et cetera, right? So I'm going to leave the flyers here. This flyer right here has my information at the bottom. And so please give us a call. We would love to work with you. That's my job, to bug you constantly about all the grants that are out there, all the opportunities that are there for the city of Bell Gardens, for other cities just like yours. Thank you. Can I leave these with someone? The flyers, yeah? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Sure. There you go. Thank you, Daisy.
Was there any questions or comments from the council? No? Okay. Moving on. Thank you so much for your presentation. City Manager, next presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. Thank you, Stella. The next item is a proclamation recognizing the month of February as Black History Month. So you'll notice what we're trying to do from a staff perspective is get ahead of the month. So if there's a month that's recognized, for instance, as Black History Month, we'll bring that to the council in the meeting prior to the month that it actually occurs so that we're recognizing the complete month. With that, I'll turn it over to May.
Thank you, Mike. Mayor Pro Tem.
A proclamation in the honor of Black History Month, whereas each February National Black History Month serves both a celebration and a powerful reminder that Black history in America history, Black culture is America culture, and Black stories are essential to the ongoing story of America, our faults, our struggles, our progress, and our aspirations. And whereas shining a light on Black History Month today is important to understand ourselves and growing stronger as a nation, celebrating the immeasurable contributions of Black Americans, honoring the legacies and achievements of generations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Alejandra Cortez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2023 and annually thereafter as Black History Month in the City of Bell Gardens, and urge all citizens to celebrate the diversity of the Black community while continuing our efforts to fight for the equality, opportunities, and dignity to which every Black American is due in equal measure. Proclaimed on this 23rd day of January 2023.
Any questions from the council? Comments? City Manager, next presentation.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. The next item is to recognize the Pico and Price Care Pharmacy for all the work that they've been doing for the City of Bell Gardens during this COVID pandemic and all the work that they continue to do for us. I think they've been a resource that everybody from the council to staff members to residents to people that are outside of the City of Bell Gardens have come to appreciate and maybe even take advantage of. I think would be the best term, having these services available. So just to be thankful to them for all the work that they've done for us. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Thank you. It's my extreme pleasure to present the certificate of recognition, which is presented to Dr. Parth Parikh from Pico Care Pharmacy. The Bell Garden City Council is honored to recognize Dr. Parth Parikh and his wife Uchida for serving the residents of Bell Gardens and administering almost 7,000 COVID-19 vaccines since April 2021. We are thankful for your dedicated service to this community, for helping the fight against COVID-19, and for keeping our residents healthy and safe during these trying times. Today, we're so excited to present this recognition to you and your wife. We want to thank you for bringing the service not only to the residents of Bell Gardens, but I'm sure residents from neighboring communities have also benefited from this great service. And also thank you to our Parks and Recs that made this happen in times of crisis and times of need. When we were trying to provide testing, vaccines, supplies, everything to keep our community as safe as possible, I think the City of Bell Gardens really stepped up to the plate and really came to the rescue of all of our residents, which other cities didn't. And at least for us, everything was organized in-house, partnered up with great organizations such as yourself to be able to bring these resources to our community. So from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank you so much for bringing this to our community. Any other council members have comments? And then if you want to come up, I don't know if you have anything to say.
Just want to thank the city council for always supporting the Department of Parks and Recs, who has always stepped up and went above and beyond their call of duty. So appreciate that, appreciate this partnership, and looking forward to many more. If there's anything we can do to help out the community, we're here for you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much. And if we could please have a picture with you. And then City Manager, you were going to say something?
I just wanted to say I like numbers, and if we're looking at 7,000 vaccinations since April of 21, that's 10 vaccinations per day, 7 days a week for almost 2 years. So it's just a tremendous number. You think of the number of people that have either lives have been saved or hospitalization time has been saved. So just very impressed and very thankful.
A big round of applause. Okay, we're now moving on to public participation. Public participation is now open for items listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda. City Clerk, can you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the council and successor agency. Each speaker and written comments are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. And when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber. If you have not done so, please submit your comment card now. And we did not receive any written communications on agenda items.
Okay, we'll begin with the in-person comments with Mr. Bruce A. Crow.
Good evening. I just want to comment on a couple of items. I wasn't planning on commenting on any of these. I was here for non-agenda, but number 2 says consideration or approval of a 30-day resolution regarding the conduct of teleconference meetings. I'm here to suggest you do not need to renew these things for 30 days. You do not need to meet remotely anymore. Just provide your meetings and commissions and committees at a reasonable time for the public to participate in. And they should get up off their duffs and get down here and participate in person. There should be no excuses for them not to do that. There is no reason why they should be denied the access to these meetings. And it's just being lazy if they want to do it by teleconferencing and by Zoom. You should reject that and terminate any of those policies or any thoughts. And number 11, the teleconference meetings after termination of California emergency declaration. Well, there should have never have been an emergency declaration to begin with, because now the information is undeniable that this was a virus foisted upon us by certain people. They knew it was wrong. And then they tried to portray themselves as the heroes to save you, either with testing or vaccines, which a lot of people made a lot of money off of that stuff. And masks. I mean, we look absolutely ridiculous with masks on. They do not do anything to stop a virus. Bacteria, yes, but a virus, no. This is just a mechanism that is for you to consent to your slavery to the World Economic Forum, that you agree with what they are saying and that you need a mask on. And if you are complicit in that, shame on you. Shame on you. And the vaccines, we know, do not stop any transmission of any viruses. They are actually killing people now and maiming people. Even the people at Pfizer, the CEO of Pfizer, knew that their vaccines were not vaccines and they did not work. And now they're getting called out on the carpet. And I'm telling you, we want justice for what people that participated in this activity, and they should be held accountable for the crimes against humanity that they have committed. And everybody that is complicit in these things needs to be held accountable as well. No teleconferencing meetings and no ad hoc committees too. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next speaker with the name of Fuck You Asshole.
Yes, fuck you assholes. The reason why I say fuck you assholes is because item number 2 is based on bullshit. And this bullshit of a criteria should have never happened. But to review or meet, I mean, come on, 30 days? Sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous. 30, just fucking end it and get the city moving. Get everyone to work. Otherwise, it's the same fucking bullshit on item number 2 of the consent. Then I go into item 11. Never should not have been Pfizer. Fuck you, Pfizer. For all the lives that you did not save, for all the fucking ridiculous viruses that you made up, and all the 40 to 50-year-old men dying from heart attacks or receiving aneurysm because some fucked up asshole from a fucked up job and a fucked up government decided to allow you to inject some vaccine that kills you. You see my dumbass dead, mommy? I talked to you the last time in 2022 when you cut me off, all because I said, the dumb nigger got cut off. So now into item 3 of my 3 minutes, item 12. Yep, I believe, these ad hocs reminds me of pigs that sweat. And pigs that don't want to listen to us. And that's brought out at Snyder versus Phelps. I'm going to read it into the record for your information. 562 U.S. 443, U.S. decision of the Supreme Courts. And what am I talking about? Well, let's just be straightforward. God hates the USA. Thank God for 9/11. America is doomed. Don't pray for the USA. Thank God for IEDs. Fag troops, simplify fags. God hates fags. Maryland, Taliban, fag doomed nations. Not blessed, just cursed. Thank God for dead soldiers. Now Benedict, Pope in hell. Priests rape boys. You're going to hell and God hates you. You're going to hell and God hates you. And that's the reason why all these topics here that I've wrote to the FBI, have been submitted to the FBI. So it's a public record and public document for all to view. Fuck Omo and fuck Mr. Olivares. Thank you.
City Clerk, do we have any additional public comments?
No, we do not. We have one, I'm sorry, we have one who virtually participating. Phone number with the last 3 numbers 050. If we would please select *6 to unmute your call. Thank you. You've successfully unmuted your call.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please announce your name for the record and you may begin.
This is Malik Tariq Mahmood, Murabbi Silsila, or you can say Imam of Ahmadiyya Muslim community. I feel privileged to address the audience. First of all, I want to thank the mayor and all the administration for providing this opportunity. In the capacity of Murabbi Silsila.
On an agenda item? We're on
No,
an
non-agenda,
item.
non-agenda.
Oh, okay.
It is non-agenda.
Okay, I will put you back on hold on the speaker queue and then you can provide your comment on non-agenda items later. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last comment that we have.
Okay. If there's no additional speakers or written comments now and no objection by the members, I will go ahead and close public participation. City Manager, moving on to your report.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Cortez. On my report, I just want to mention some things that are upcoming here in the next few weeks, and one item that has occurred in the past. So just want to make sure everybody knows this Wednesday from 2 to 6 p.m. Spirit Family Services will be working with the Community Family Services Center over at Veterans Park. They're there and able to discuss all the services they provide to vulnerable families and children. You may know they have an office just down the street from City Hall on the other side of Florence Place. But they'll be at the Community Family Services this Wednesday. Want to just keep mentioning we have a farmers market on Friday from 11 to 3. Seems like we get a lot of visitors when school lets out from families that are picking up their school children and the kids themselves. So we're continuing to try to work to grow that, especially as we come into more traditional farmers market season, which would be in the springtime. Also want to mention we have first of 2 mental health workshops at Veterans Park this Saturday at 10:30 a.m. We've got another financial literacy program workshop. This one's regarding saving for education for college. That's Tuesday, February 7th at 6 p.m. And the last thing I just want to acknowledge and ask the chief maybe to speak a few words to it. Back 2 Sundays ago on January 15th, there was an incident at the 76 station with an individual that I think was having mental health issues. It was, I think, a very trying situation, and it lasted for a long time. I think maybe as long as 4 or 5 hours. And as we all see on TV, a lot of times those end up in the results of those situations are not positive and are, oftentimes maybe ending of life type situations for the individuals involved. And so always really happy to see where a lot of time, energy, effort goes into something and the result is, a non-lethal solution. So I just would turn it over to the chief to talk a little bit about that, just to remind the council of that incident.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. There's a lot that went into it, and I'd like to go through it. I got some bullet points here to go through kind of the timeline of the event, just to kind of show when we have these tools available to us, how effective it actually can be in a peaceful alternative. And thanks to the city and city council for allowing us to obtain those items to ensure that we're able to do this to the best of our ability. So on Sunday, January 15th at about 9 a.m., officers took a stolen vehicle report. During that conversation with the victim, they were able to electronically track their vehicle, and they sent us to the area of Garfield and Florence Avenue. Officers responded to the area, and they located the stolen vehicle parked in the north side of the parking lot at the 76 gas station. As officers attempted to get the subject to exit the vehicle, he refused. He began making statements that he was going to kill himself. So officers continued to negotiate with the subject while attempting to gather more information and develop a plan to end the call peacefully. It became clear to the officers on scene that the subject was experiencing a mental health episode, and the supervisor on scene requested that the Bell Gardens Special Operation Team, or SOT, respond. A command post was established at a nearby business. Patrol officers evacuated the gas station and other nearby locations while blocking off the area around the gas station. BGPD personnel deployed both of our armored rescue vehicles in order to block the vehicle, to keep it from rolling somewhere else and causing a dangerous situation throughout the city or a pursuit. The armored vehicles also allowed our officers to observe the subject from a position of advantage, giving us time and space to do what needed to be done. Officers utilized BGPD community service officers, as well as Bell Gardens Public Works, to assist with blocking and routing traffic away from the area. Bell and Downey PD were requested and responded for mutual aid to help us secure the area. Our personnel began reaching out to LA County Mental Health and surrounding cities in an attempt to find a clinician or mental health worker to help us through the negotiation. Downey PD responded with a mental health specialist that happened to be working that day. This resource proved to be invaluable in the potential negotiations with the suspect. Over the next hour or so, officers in LA County Mental Health continued to talk with the subject as SOT officers began arriving on scene. 2 lieutenants and a captain also responded from home to oversee the operation. Ultimately, 10 SOT members, including a K-9, responded to the scene, and we also had our Bell Gardens crisis negotiators arrive at the location. We also activated and put our drone operators on standby with our drone, with the potential to deploy the drone. The supervisors on scene, in conjunction with our special operations commander and team leader, developed and implemented a plan in an effort to bring the incident to a safe and successful ending. With that being said, the mission was first and foremost to take the subject into custody peacefully utilizing the tools the city has made available to us. Furthermore, we wanted to return the victim's vehicle and provide the subject with the mental health resources needed. Our special operations team members utilized the mental health specialist on scene along with our crisis negotiation team to communicate with the subject via cell phone. At some point during the negotiations and the conduct, the subject basically went silent, which is concerning. In an effort to get the subject to re-engage us in conversation, we utilized some of our non-lethal tools to stimulate negotiations. The non-lethal tactic worked, and the subject once again began communicating with our crisis negotiation team. As negotiations continued, we were able to develop a surrender plan with the subject. However, he became confrontational with negotiators. Based on the sudden change in the demeanor of the subject, SOT initiated another less lethal tactic, at which time the subject exited the vehicle and surrendered to police by laying face down on the ground as per the plan. The incident began at approximately 9 a.m. and ended at approximately 1400 hours or 2 p.m. It should be noted that the subject continued to barricade himself in the vehicle to refuse to surrender to the Bell Gardens Police Department. Had multiple contingency plans in place, and we had numerous additional non-lethal options available to us still at that time. All the planning and tactics deployed by our special operations team took into account the safety of the public, the subject, and all of our personnel. The tactics and tools used caused no injury to the suspect or damage to the victim's vehicle or surrounding property. Lastly, the resources we had available to us that day at the time of the call is we had a day sergeant and 3 officers, which is our minimum staffing levels. We had 1 community service office working. We then deployed our SOT, CNT, and administrative staff, a total of 13 individuals who responded from home. Numerous public works employees assisted, multiple Bell PD officers, and multiple Downey PD officers. The approximate overtime, about 70 hours, totaling of over $7,500 cost of the city, but money well spent. And I'd like to thank here publicly all the individuals who did such a professional job, especially the day shift folks who were working and ended up in a very stressful scenario with minimum staffing. And then the 13 individuals who responded from home on a Sunday morning to make sure this came to a peaceful and successful conclusion. So thank you very much for allowing me to present that information.
Thank you, Chief. That's all I have, Mayor Cortez. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief, for this report. I want to commend our Bell Gardens Police Department on this great resolution to this conflict. I'll be speaking more about it during my council member comments, but thank you for this presentation. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to consent calendar. Does any member of the council successor agency wish to pull any items for separate discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
I'll go ahead and move.
Okay, motion by Barcena, second. Who wants a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. And then City Clerk, roll call vote.
Yes, thank you. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Chair Cortez.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. City Manager, first discussion item.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This item is the commission's appointment list. So it's the staff's recommendation that the council please look at the appointments list for vacancies. By motion, either add, remove, or make changes to appointments to the posted vacancies. Thank you.
Okay, does any council member have any changes to their commissioners at this time?
I do.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd like to appoint Stephanie Perez to my Senior Citizen Commission and Cecilia Jimenez to the Recreation, Culture, and Youth Commission.
Jimenez, right? Okay, any other changes by the council? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve. May I have a second? And this to approve the two new appointed commissioners.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Second by Councilmember Barson, a roll call vote.
Thank you. And just for clarification for my record, who motioned it?
Myself.
Okay, thank you. Council members Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes. Motion carries. City Manager, next discussion item.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Cortez. So this next item is regarding teleconference meetings after the upcoming termination of the California Emergency Declaration. So as that declaration ends at the end of February, staff is looking for direction from the council as far as the conduct of future council meetings, including ad hoc meetings and commissions, et cetera. So with that, I'll turn it over to the city clerk, and we also have from our city attorney firm, Stephanie A., to provide a presentation, but I'll start with our city clerk. If you can speak to it somewhat, Daisy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As the city manager stated, we do have Stephanie A. with AMLO, who's going to actually provide a presentation for staff to consider to either continue teleconferencing meeting accommodations or to terminate teleconferencing. And with that, I will hand it off to you, Stephanie.
Good evening, honorable mayor and city council members. I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you can see that.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Good evening again. I will apologize that I'm a little under the weather and I have sniffly nose, so I'll try to make this brief and without any sneezing if possible. Item 11 before you this evening includes a presentation on the future of teleconference meetings after the termination of the statewide emergency declaration. In September of 2021, Governor Newsom signed AB 361 into law, which went into effect immediately and allowed legislative bodies to continue to hold teleconference meetings without adherence to the traditional teleconference requirements under the Brown Act. One of the conditions.
Sorry for interrupting, Stephanie, but we can't hear your audio really clearly.
Sorry. Is that what? Okay, do you let me try to move something?
Stephanie,
okay, do you want me?
It's Mike. It's a
Yes.
little bit hollow sounding in the background. I don't know if maybe you can maybe try turning the volume up possibly.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Maybe I'm just speaking too low. Is this better or is it still coming in and out?
That's more clear. And I wonder if the volume up on our side at all to help. That was more clear, Stephanie. I think a little more volume on our side might help as well. Go ahead and start speaking, Stephanie.
Okay. I'm just going to start over. So in September of 2021, Governor Newsom signed AB 261 into law, which went into effect immediately and allowed legislative bodies to continue to hold teleconference meetings without adhering to the traditional teleconference requirements under the Brown Act. One of the conditions under 361 is a declaration of emergency. The city, along with many others, have been relying on the statewide declaration of emergency. This declaration will end on February 28th, removing one of the conditions needed under 361. Without the declaration of emergency required under 361, the council is then left only with the option to conduct teleconference meetings under the traditional Brown Act requirements. As a brief reminder, traditional Brown Act teleconferencing requirements are under traditional Brown Act. Teleconferencing is permitted for all purposes during any meeting, so long as the form of the legislative body participates from locations within the local agency's jurisdiction. The meeting notice and agenda identify the teleconference location. The agenda is posted at each teleconference location 72 hours before the regular meeting. The public has access to each teleconference location. The agenda outlines the process for the public to address the legislative body directly at each teleconference location. During the meeting, the public has the opportunity to address the legislative body directly at each teleconference location, and the legislative body votes by roll call. As of January 1st, 2023, pursuant to AB 2449, there is another exception available to legislative bodies for teleconference meetings other than the traditional Brown Act. AB 2449 does not require a declaration of emergency and does not require the city to take any extra steps to implement it, so long as the requirements in the code are met. To avail itself of the teleconferencing rules established under AB 2449, a public agency must comply with the following meeting requirements. The quorum of the members must participate in person from a singular physical location identified on the agenda. The legislative body must provide either a two-way audiovisual platform, such as Zoom or WebEx, which allows the meeting to be viewed and heard from a remote location, or a two-way telephonic service and a live webcasting of the meeting. The agenda must give notice of the means by which members of the public may access the meeting and offer public comment. And the meeting must be paused and no action may be taken if the broadcasting platform, either audio or visual, is interrupted at any time. If a member of the legislative body wishes to participate remotely pursuant to AB 2449, all of the following requirements must be met. The request qualifies as either a just cause or emergency circumstance, which I'll define in my next slides. The member publicly discloses before any action is taken whether any individuals 18 years of age or older are present at the remote location and the general nature of their relationship. The member participates through both audio and visual technology. And a member's participation does not exceed either 3 consecutive months or 20% of regular meetings within a single calendar year. That would depend on how many meetings we end up holding. If it's between 22 to 24, that's about 4 meetings total. The just cause circumstance exception under AB 2449 requires that at the earliest opportunity possible, including at the start of the meeting, the requesting member must notify the legislative body that they have a just cause reason for participating remotely. One second, is my sound still really bad? Do you guys prefer that I call in? Is that a better option?
That's probably better. That's probably better, Stephanie. It's just very hollow sounding.
Okay, I will call in and then can somebody else, I know Daisy has the slides. Are you able to pull them up on?
Yes, I do, and I can go ahead and continue.
Okay, perfect. I will hop off this and call in 1 second.
One moment while I try to go ahead and share the screen. Okay, so the just cause circumstance at the earliest opportunity possible, including at the start of a regular meeting, the requesting member must notify the legislative body that they have a just cause reason for participating remotely. AB 2449 defines just cause to mean as follows. a child care or caregiving need of a child, parent, grandparent, grandchild, sibling, spouse, or domestic partner that requires them to participate remotely. A contagious illness that prevents a member from attending in person, a need related to certain statutorily defined forms of physical or mental disability, or travel while in official business of the public agency or for another state or local agency. Emergency circumstance is defined to mean a physical or family medical emergency that prevents a member from attending a meeting in person. To invoke the emergency circumstance exception, the requesting member, as soon as possible, must request that the legislative body allow him or her to participate remotely due to some specified emergency circumstance. The member's legislative body must take action to approve the request at the earliest opportunity. The legislative body shall also request a general description, not exceeding 20 words, that describe the circumstances relating to the requesting member's emergency. The requester member is not required to disclose any medical diagnosis or disability or any personal medical information that's already exempt under existing law. And the member must make a separate request for each meeting in which he or she seeks to participate remotely under the emergency exception.
Hi, DZ, I'm back on.
Oh, wonderful.
Is this better sounding?
Yes, much.
Okay. Okay. So seems like we're on the last slide, correct?
Correct, on the recommendation.
Okay. So thank you for that, and apologies again for the technical issues. So prior to the expiration of the statewide declaration of emergency on February 28th, 2023, staff recommends that the city council either one, direct staff to continue teleconference meeting accommodations and establish the policy that only the first two members of the council, commission, or committee to notify the city manager or city clerk or their designee of a teleconference participation request will be granted teleconference meeting privileges under AB 2449, or option 2, direct staff to terminate teleconference meeting accommodations for city council, commission, and ad hoc committee meetings. That concludes my presentation. And once again, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there any questions or comments from the council? Okay. Okay, seeing that there's no questions at this time, I'll go ahead and take any motions. There's two different options on the table with regards to how we move forward.
So I can summarize, I hope, if this maybe helps the council here understand. So there's, prior to COVID, prior to this emergency, the council meetings were held in person. If you were a council member and you were not going to be able to attend, but you wanted to attend from a remote location, you had to let staff know. We would post the location on the agenda. You'd have to post the agenda at that location, let's say at an office or your place of work or home, or wherever there was not the option for you to participate with teleconferencing. That's sort of the default option, which is option 2. The option 1 that's discussed, that was the bulk of the presentation, where you saw a lot of rules regarding what was justified, what was not justified. That's AB 2449. You can opt to elect to avail yourselves of AB 2449. It does allow options for council members to participate via teleconference, subject to the rules that were described. There's an order in which people would have to request a teleconference, a certain number, and there'd be reasons and limitations. If you do avail yourself of that, you also have to ensure that that same method of teleconference is available to members of the public for public comment. So item 1 essentially allows you to teleconference subject to all of these rules, and also makes it a requirement that you allow public comment to be provided through those teleconferencing means. Option 2 basically means that council members have to be in person, or they can be away from the location. We just have to know in advance so that it's posted, but you cannot participate via teleconference. At that point, it's up to the council whether or not members of the public are able to provide public comment through teleconferencing or not. That's something that you can decide prior to the agenda going out. So I hope that helps give some direction there. I think I'd look to Stephanie and say, Stephanie, if the council takes no action at this time, is it true that that basically we just go back to the pre-emergency authorization council meetings? The council basically at that point doesn't avail themselves of 2449, and the meetings are just held as they were always held in the past. Is that accurate?
Is to an extent, because 2449 does not require there be any motion to avail itself of it. We need direction as to what staff is supposed to do, because does staff continue to offer these teleconference meeting accommodations, or do they stop? So, well, you can technically not do anything. I think before March 1st, we would have to get direction from the council as to what they want staff to do.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'm just thinking of my constituents and the diverse group of people that are interested in the council meetings. Fortunately, I've seen an increase in participation in the last few months, in the last couple of years. And I do feel that, even though we all have a little bit of well, personally, I walk around feeling a little bit more confident about the pandemic and this and that, but I know that that's also a fallacy, given that the numbers are still on the rise, given that a lot of my own family members have recently contracted COVID, even for the first time. So I feel like we're not ready. So in my opinion, I'd like to continue to have these conferences to keep the engagement and offer this accommodation for our residents. So I'm gonna go ahead and motion for option 1.
If that's a motion on the floor, I'd like to second that motion.
I would like to offer a hybrid motion to where we don't avail ourselves of the AB 2449, but we still keep the participation open for the public so that they can engage virtually. But as for council members, ad hoc members, community members, commission members, they would have to come to the meetings in person. But still allowing, I think Mike mentioned that we would just announce it prior to any agenda, that they can still participate via Zoom or via phone and still continue those methods of communication, at least while we evaluate how the pandemic transcends in the next year.
I'm okay with that.
Quick question, can we do that?
Mayor, may I clarify? So you can't not avail yourself of 2449. It's just available. So you're able to direct staff to continue teleconference meeting accommodations. But if, for example, a council member is sick day of and they want to use their just cause, we can't prevent them from doing that because they're allowed to. So just to clarify.
If I may, and I've been on the council for about going already on my 3rd year. I think each of us have, we've gone through incidents in our own personal lives, whether it was taking care of a family member, mourning the loss of a family member. So I think just cause circumstance, I think it is justified. Who's to say that, in the next meeting I'm sick and I can't make it, but there's such important items that, we need to be here, right? Somehow, some way or shape or form. So I think AB 2449 allows us that opportunity to be here. I do also agree though with the hybrid mode that the mayor is proposing, but I think overall, AB 2449, AB 2449, yeah. I think it's a good option, and I'd like to go with that option. Thank you.
Okay, so legal just clarified, and I'm sorry I missed your comments, but legal just clarified that 2249 is going to exist irrespective. We can't take action against it, so council can avail itself of this bill. The difference is the teleconferencing for or the remote participation, and I think based on the motions, we're all in agree, or some of us are in agreement to continue that participation for the community and for them to be able to access. Is that more so what you were?
I was just mentioning how I think each of us has had, maybe 1 or 2 incidents within the past, I don't know, couple years, where some of us have had to miss meetings, right? And that's whether it's family, we had to take care of a loved one, maybe one of us was sick, or we were mourning the loss of someone. And then also the option that in a case where, we're traveling for a conference, I remember last year, or I believe the 2021, I was attending the National League of Cities conference in DC, and I had to attend remotely. I think the options are always available, and AB 2449 is a good route to go in. So if again, the motion is still on the floor to go with that first option that staff proposed, I'm still seconding that. That's the comments that I made.
Yes. So at this point, I effectively withdraw my amendment, and we'll just continue with, can we do a roll call vote on that first motion unless there's a second motion?
Okay, yes, Mayor. Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes. Okay, that motion carries. Moving on to the next discussion item, City Manager.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. At the last meeting, the council directed staff to create an ad hoc committee for the community engagement tool that we'll sometimes refer to as the city app. At this time, we're asking for the council to make a motion to appoint 2 council members to that ad hoc committee, please. Thank you.
Okay, does any member have any comments or questions before we move on to motions?
Briefly.
Yes, I'll go ahead and just provide a quick reminder of my original motion and the reason why, the thought process of why I had this idea. I know that we, and when I say we, a few of us on the council have been wanting to put together this city app so that residents are able to communicate in a way that's more convenient for the, regarding either dumping on the sidewalk or a hazardous situation across the city. In my campaign, I worked together with one of our council members on providing a portal for people to report to us directly when they had these issues, and we ourselves communicated with the department. So we feel like with the support of the city, this is kind of a big deal, and we want to make sure that it's done correctly, taking into account some of the experience that we gathered during our campaign. So I would appreciate the support of the council in just giving us this opportunity to put in our 2 cents from what we learned from our involvement in our campaign and reaching out to the people directly. Again, this will be for the purpose of making sure that whatever direction staff goes into is the best possible and also the most efficient, and that this is a successful project because we were out there walking, door knocking across the entire city. So we feel like we know what people are more likely to respond to and engage with. So that was basically the reason why I brought this up. And, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to, for me to be part of this ad hoc and also Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, is there any other motions on the floor? Hearing none, roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes, motion carries. City Manager, discussion item number 13.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item is to present to the council the results of a sidewalk inspection survey. I won't go into too much detail, but really this was a process out of the Public Works Department. Grisel will give you a presentation here to take a comprehensive look at the condition of the sidewalks in Bell Garden. I think there's about 85 miles of sidewalks. We spent a lot of time with traffic safety issues and things of that nature. Obviously, the sidewalks are a roadway for pedestrians. And this was a way to look at, take a comprehensive look at every issue we have with every mile of sidewalk that we have and come up with a plan to fix all of those issues over a 12-month period of time. Before I turn it over to Grisel, I've mentioned the council several times, the willingness of the Public Works Department and the staff there to take on jobs and to take on work that oftentimes I think in other municipalities would be contracted out. But to take this work, to do it upon themselves, to do it at a cheaper cost. In this case, it'll save us about $650,000 by doing the work ourselves, and the work has already started. With that, I'll turn it over to Grisel Chavez, our Public Works Director. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening, Mayor Cortez and members of the City Council. Happy to be with you just about three months after the inspection process started with the company hired by the city back in September. If you recall, Precision Concrete Cutting received a contract for the amount of $33,000 to inspect all our sidewalk locations citywide over the 85-mile span. And I'll share with you in this PowerPoint just a snapshot of what the inspection report detail looked like. A lot of very helpful data that is what is allowing us to proceed with the repairs in-house, as our city manager shared. So the screen before you shows a picture of, the satellite aerial mapping used. Every single street in the city was mapped, and we have pictures like the map being shown with the different notations on if there was a replacement issue, a tree issue, what type of specific sidewalk damage was noted for that block, not to mention individual pictures of each and every sidewalk hazard, whether it was over 2 inches, less than 2 inches, all of that detail is noted. The contractor also marked the sidewalk hazards with fluorescent paint, as you see in some of the pictures here, to notify pedestrians of the existing hazard. So these are just samples taken of Florence Place pictures in the 6600 block. The next slide here is just, again, another snapshot, a single page of their actual inspection report listing each specific address, the amount of square footage involved, the length of the sidewalk, the displacement, the number of inches involved, to identify the hazard to allow us to know what type of repair would be needed. Zone 1 through 4 is what the whole city was made up of. So in zone 1 alone, which I believe is the northwest area of the city, there were 699 sidewalk sections identified to have hazards. Zone 2, which is the northeast area of the city, had 458 sidewalks with damage. Zone 3 on the southwest portion of the city showed 759 sidewalks with damage, and the last zone 4 in the southeast of town had 389 sidewalks with damage. So when the inspection was completed in December, our staff met with the contractor. We reviewed all this ton of data that was provided to be able to formulate a plan and what it would take to repair all the damage. So the summary, the results are basically a total of 2,168 sidewalk sections that were lifted or raised, but it could be grinded or saw cut. And these are 2.5-inch raise or less, followed by the more hazardous locations, which would be 121 sections or approximately 44,000 square feet that would require the whole panels to be removed and replaced. And this is because they're lifted over 2.5 inches in displacement or have other broken panels, so it couldn't be grinded or raised. So those are the more hazardous locations that would require, like I said, remove and replace. 14 trees are in the process of being inspected to identify if roots can be pruned or if they need to be removed due to the extent of damage caused to the sidewalks. So as Mr. O'Kelly shared, our city staff has already begun making the repairs to these hazards that have been identified. And we're starting with the most hazardous locations first, with the raises being over 2.5 inches. And what we're doing temporarily, as you see in the picture here, go to the next one. So it's hard to tell, but on your computer, you can look more closely. So we're applying a cold patch, basically asphalt, a bagged asphalt mix, which is called a cold patch. We're ramping the raise so that it's no longer creating that lift, which would be the tripping hazard. So we're doing that for the 121 sections now. We should be done within the next week. And thereafter that will hold in place until we get to ripping out the sidewalk and replacing it with new. And thereafter, we'll jump on the list of the 2,168 sidewalk sections that are going to be grinded down. And we'd have 2 teams going out there when possible to do that and get it done as soon as possible. So it would take us about 1 year to complete everything on here. And our staff has the equipment and tools and training to be able to do this in-house. And again, ultimately, happy to report it's saving the city approximately $10,000 worth of contracted costs if these were to be contracted out. And that concludes my report. I'm available to answer any questions and my recommendations that City Council receive and file this presentation update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the council?
Real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Councilmember Torres, go first.
All right. Thank you so much for that presentation, Grisel. Appreciate it. Quick question. Why does this happen to our sidewalks? What's like the most common reason?
It's often related to tree roots. Yeah, that's probably the number one reason.
But is there a certain way? I mean, I know, sidewalks, they have trees and stuff, but I mean, is there a reason for why the tree does that?
Depending on the tree species, right? Some have more aggressive root growth, like ficus trees are notorious for damaging sidewalks. The size of the parkway, sometimes the wrong tree is planted in the small parkway, so the root damage is greater. So that's why the tree arborist, our contractor inspects the trees and identifies what could be done to address those issues. They'll look at the root structure. We try what we can to save the tree. And sometimes it's a matter of that tree could be a mature 50-year-old plus tree, and we could preserve the life of the tree. It just means having to do more sidewalk damage, repairs ongoing. And cities tend to do that. It's, we'd rip out probably hundreds of trees if we wanted to save the sidewalk from getting damaged. It's kind of trying to maintain a balance of addressing safety hazards and addressing the sidewalk. That's why they're recommended to be inspected annually by JPIA, but also caring for the tree and conducting the trimming maintenance that's recommended through the industry standard and practices, every 2 to 3 years.
Thank you for that. Now, the reason why I was asking about the tree or why the concrete does that, or why the tree causes the concrete to uplift, is because, I had students reach out from a local elementary school, Bell Gardens Elementary, asking about our trees here in our city. They even went as far as to give me some information about a tree equity score. I didn't know this existed. Essentially, cities are given a score based on, like, as an indicator based on how qualified this or how good of a job the city's doing as in there's tree equity, right? So within the city of Bell Gardens, there's sections broken into census categories or census blocks. And each section is given a score between 0 to 100. From the letter that they drafted up to me, there was about maybe 2,800, 2,700 little lots that are vacant in the city here in terms of where trees could be put. And the reason I was asking about the uplifting of sidewalks is because potentially in the future, as a council, we might check out and see, like, hey, you know what? There's community information. There's community concern about us not having enough trees. Potentially, if we want to take action and maybe plant more trees, right? How can we prevent this from happening in the future? So that was the reason I was asking. I'm all for trees. I love trees. I don't want the trees to go away. So, but yeah, it's interesting in terms of our score. I'm trying to remember what the score was or what number they gave us. They gave us a lot of information. I have the letter right in front of me, but there was a good 2,000 to 3,000 vacant little lots where a tree could be put. So, yeah, just thought it'd be some information. And thank you for answering those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, just very quickly, I did have one question. Are most of these just a procedural checkup when you identify the sidewalks that need work, or were any of them reported by residents?
When the sidewalks are reported by residents throughout the year in the past going forward, we would immediately go out and inspect it and apply the necessary repair or temporary repair.
Okay, thank you.
So it's possible. So there's just one snapshot in time, right, as of December. So, but roots are living, trees are living, organisms, and they will grow, and the roots will continue to grow and maybe cause damage. So that's why the sidewalk should be inspected on a regular basis, like annually, because next year might be other locations with damage. So we still want to encourage residents to call in any sidewalk hazards so we can go out promptly and identify what to temporarily make it safe to prevent someone tripping and falling.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll motion to receive and file. May I have a second?
Second.
And roll call vote, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez, and Mayor Cortez.
Yes, motion carries. We're now moving on to public participation for non-agenda items. Public participation is now open. City clerks, will you please announce the instructions?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And the members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda, non-agenda items. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. Each speaker and written comment are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person.
Thank you, City Clerk. First up, Bruce A. Crow.
That was rough. Yes, trees grow and their roots grow. And they lift the sidewalks up. Yes, and they cause cracks in the sidewalk. So you have to decide whether you want to keep the trees or not, or maybe plant different types of trees. Maybe OMLO could give you a bunch of jargon to figure out how to take care of an issue like that. I mean, what 3 bullet points did you like in OMLO's presentation that you thought you needed to have so much that you should have terminated that policy? Unbelievable. I live in Downey, and I didn't think anybody could do worse than a city council in Downey, but you guys are right there, man, I'll tell you. I want to talk about the concealed carry that was brought up about a month or 2 ago. Your police force has enough to do. Obviously, they had a situation that came up and they handled it, and it was tough, and they have a tough job. And I'm here to tell you, they're not out hunting brown and black people on the streets to look to see who they're going to assassinate either. They have a job to do. Let them do their job. They don't need to be bothered with concealed carry permits because the county's too lazy to do their job. And now they got a new sheriff over there, that Luna guy. I mean, yeah, he's the guy in Long Beach that sat there and watched the rioters burn his city down and did nothing. And now he's in at LA County. Unbelievable. You know, the police don't need to be dealing with concealed carry, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you already have permission to defend yourself if you're a law-abiding citizen. We don't want the police chief deciding whether I'm mentally capable of owning a firearm or not. It's called the Second Amendment in our Constitution. I already have permission to own a weapon to protect myself, just for your information. Masks, they do absolutely nothing. You don't keep anybody safe. They're only for bacteria. You should take down the dividers. We have a 99.98% survival rate of COVID-19. All the accounting of all the disease, the virus was overcounted. They admit it now, and the rats are leaving the ship, by the way. So don't stay on that ship. They're leaving the ship, and they're going to be held accountable worldwide for what they've done. And Central Basin, has anybody brought up the reason why we have a $10 standby charge on your property tax bill? I know the camera's turned off, the residents can't see it, but it's on there and you've done nothing to address it.
Okay, moving on to the next speaker, Mr. Fuck You Asshole.
clearly, we know that loser Jose Luis Huizar and his political type of agenda shows how fucked up our local government is. And when we deal with fucking wetbacks like Jose Luis Huizar from Los Angeles, I think the message is clear. America is doomed, and the political arena has become the fucking slush piggy bank for some of you fucking retards that think it's good. Well, I don't think it's good. I think it brings more harm to the public in our society. Just like I submitted my public inquiry complaint to Sacramento, in which I will submit into the record dated July 7th, 2022. And what about the dumb carrot ass from Los Angeles, the mayor, dumping all those fucking homeless people into your community, burdening this small little town with more fucking homeless issues. And as you heard in the police report, one fucking individual mental health, and it took $7,500 of taxpayers just to put the fucking asshole back into where he belongs, get the help he needs. So, you know, I received this claim from January 10th, 2023, and fuck Omo, Rick, staff, because, you know, your notice hereby given, claim of rejection, again, is about censorship and violating our constitutional right to be heard and not be censored or monitored when we call in for teleconferencing. So, as Marion Spindler would say, cash cows, you got to learn that you can't fuck with puppets. And I'm going to read into the record what some jackass from Downey Latino wrote about an individual. Wackos have followed the error of every council meeting for the last 3 years. Well, fuck Downey Latino, because I'm pretty sure you support that fucking wetback, Jose Luis Huizar, who's now going to have to do jail time in a federal prison without a break. And that's the kind of shithole politics we deal with on a regular basis. 42 USC 1983. Fuck you, Jose Luis Huizar. Fuck the city of Los Angeles. Fuck your homeless crisis. And if you're not sure if I'm right politically or wrong, look at the color of law, how you deprive the public from participation. Because without participation, you wouldn't know how to fucking deal with your agenda and deal with your fucking consent items. Follow the 2010 standard and get the goddamn fucking sidewalks fixed. Thank you.
Zoom ID, Imam Malik Tariq.
City Clerk, can we please clarify whether this is the same as the email provided? And if so, then we'll just introduce the email into the record and have him speak.
Yes, this is the same email that was provided by Malik Tariq.
Okay, so then we'll just have them speak, and the email was distributed to the rest of council, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Zoom ID, Imam, thank you. You've successfully unmuted yourself.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Malik Tariq Mahmood, Murabbi Silsila, or Imam of Ahmadiyya Muslim community. I feel privileged to address the audience. First of all, I want to thank the mayor and all the administration for providing this opportunity to the public. In the capacity of Murabbi Silsila, I want to convey an important message of the head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community, His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, which he conveyed on the occasion of the 10th Annual Peace Symposium at the Baitul Futuh Mosque in London, United Kingdom. His Holiness said, "To strive for peace is a noble ambition and is something that the world has always stood in great need of. If we look at the situation of the world today, we realize that now, more than ever, it is a pressing and urgent need of the time for us to seek and pursue peace and harmony in the world. If we want to If we want true peace and if we want to save the world from destruction, then we must act with justice, integrity, and be ever faithful to the truth. It is a duty of all powers to fulfill the requirements of justice and to unite together. All parties need to increase dialogue and open the lines of communication so that they can peacefully discuss the best means to solve the problems of the world. I will, God willing, always continue to carry out my task and my responsibilities of promoting peace, tolerance, justice, and compassion to the corners of the world. I will continue to tell all people that in order to be relieved from the pain and suffering that we face today, we must adopt true justice and equality. May God bless you with peace. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
City Clerk, is there any additional speakers?
That was the last speaker. And as you stated earlier, there was a written communication provided by the person who provided their comment by way of Zoom, and that was distributed to the City Council.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council and Successor Agency, I will now go ahead and close public participation. And we're going to go ahead and move on to City Council Successor Agency member comments, beginning with Councilmember Barcena.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to thank staff for the great job that you do. Public Works, Police Department, Recreation and Community Services, and also the Planning Department. Thank you guys for everything you do. I really appreciate your efforts. I suspect that the mayor will be touching upon the tragedy that happened in our neighboring city. So I'm not gonna say too many words. I just want to express my sadness and I want to give my condolences to all of the families and city workers and employees and everyone from the surrounding area, because the impact really does expand beyond just the city where this tragedy happened. So my condolences, and I just hope for a better tomorrow. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
Briefly, thank you to everybody. I want to echo the same sentiments that Councilmember Barcena. It's tough. I'm almost lost at words to kind of process what's been happening lately. And it seems like we hear this story over and over and over and over, and nothing gets done. People say prayers and hopes, but why don't we take action? Why isn't there something done, right? And I understand some of this stuff can't be necessarily done at the city level, at the state level, perhaps. I know the Second Amendment, and I understand that. But it's painful. I think there was another update. Now it's 11 people that lost their lives. These were either 11 parents, sons, daughters, uncles, aunts, grandparents, mostly grandparents. I remember seeing that on the news, that it was mostly people who were late in age. You're going out celebrating a holiday, and next thing you know, you see this happening. The fact that it's so close to home, like Monterey Park is right around the corner, and just hard. It's one thing to see it in the other side of the country, in other states, but locally here in LA County, this close to Bell Gardens. I hope this never happens to us. I hope this never happens to any of the communities surrounding us. I hope this never happens in general. How about that? I definitely, as I believe all the rest of my colleagues will agree, we all stand in solidarity with the city of Monterey Park. With that, I'll close my comments. Thank you.
Councilwoman Pulido.
I just want to thank our staff, police department, and all the departments that participated in that event from Sunday. Recently, I also experienced a shelter-in-place type of situation in my workplace, and the police department and the city of Hawthorne also did a great job in protecting not only my immediate community where I work, but also the neighboring community as well, where the situation could have gotten out of hand and someone could have been injured. But because of police officers like from the city of Hawthorne and also in the city of Bell Gardens, these situations are mitigated so that even though we are spending $7,500, we are saving lives. That situation could have gotten out of hand, not only for the one person who was in the vehicle, but also for our residents. So even though $7,500 does feel like a lot of money, it is money well spent. I thank you so much for being so brave and protecting our community. And like mentioned in regards to the incident in Monterey Park, that was an unfortunate situation. I feel the pain for the family members that lost their loved ones, but also for that member who I believe was in his 70s, working in long-term care. I interact with seniors with illnesses every single day. And even though what that man did, his son is terrible, he also was battling with psych issues. I mean, I'm sure he didn't just wake up thinking, you know, I'm going to do this. And it didn't come from a place. I just feel bad for those families. And I hope that the families find peace in their heart and are able to remember their loved ones in the coming years. And I'm sorry. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez.
I too want to thank our staff and echo what my colleagues have said regarding the situation here in Bell Gardens, but I also want to thank our neighboring districts that came out to support PGBD to make sure that everybody was safe, as well as talking about the senseless act of violence that happened in Monterey Park. I live here, but I work closely to that city. And so it did affect a lot of my students in the community there. And so I know that it truly comes down to mental health. And I hope that people in those situations can get the help that they need before acting out in this matter. So I do want to send my love and my prayers to that neighboring city, but also thank everybody that helped us during the situation that we had.
Thank you. As for myself, again, I want to commend our Bell Gardens Police Department, all the officers who assisted that Sunday morning. A lot of residents were asking what's going on, what's happening, but it was great to tell them at the end of the day that we had a positive resolution, that this individual received the help, that our Bell Gardens Police Department set a standard very, very high in trying to resolve this, bringing out a clinician, trying to negotiate with the individual and getting him the help that he needed ultimately. So thank you, Bell Gardens Police Department. It seems to be that mental health, it's big right now with everything else going on. There has also been a lot of officers that have lost their life on the line of duty. So I do want to acknowledge that as well. And tonight, you know, we do offer our sincere condolences to the Monterey Park community, as well as to the 11 members that lost their life and their families. Peace is not going to come easy for those families, but we hope that you can find it someday. And also does the Monterey Park community that responded to that situation, that was able to mitigate further damage, that was able to, you know, come to a resolution with the individual who committed this atrocious act. A lot of resources and efforts were put towards this task, but we just want to offer our sincere condolences. So at the end of this meeting, or now, I would like to take a minute of silence for not only the 11 members, but also all the officers that we have lost in the line of duty recently. Thank you. I believe Councilmember Chavez, you have one more comment.
Yes, briefly, there's another mass shooting that just happened today. Now this one's in the Bay, San Mateo County. 7 were killed with 1 injured. So if possible, if we can conclude the meeting with those family members in mind as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. With that, if there's no objection by the members, I will now adjourn the City Council and Successor Agency